Hello, welcome to Hammers Chat. This is the Timo Gonzo on loan from the West Ham Massive. And if you don't know who the West Ham Massive are, please consider giving them a subscribe. But I'm here to do a post-match report on behalf of Hammers Chat. So that's enough of that. So finishes 4-1 to the mighty Irons. And I think if you look at the stats, it's clear to see that we were good value for it in the main. Although we had to work for it, it has to be said. At one point, obviously at 1-1, it was looking like it might be one of those days for a certain period of time. But let's look at the game overall. So, game starts in a similar fashion to the game against Brentford last week, except instead of us being the ones conceding an early goal, we're the ones that score it. Opposite 48 seconds, I think it was, there or thereabouts. Jarrod Bowen's got the ball on the right-hand side. Ironically enough, it comes about because Calvin Phillips loses possession in central midfield. The ball eventually comes to Jarrod Bowen on the right-hand side. He cuts inside, centres a low ball, and round about the 6-yard box is Michail Antonio lurking, gets a touch on the cross from Bowen, steers it past Muric for an early goal within a minute, and London Stadium erupts, at least the claret and blue part of it. And you think from that point of view that we would have then started to exert a level of dominance. Not quite how it played out, in truth. You've got to give Ipswich a bit of credit there. So after about 5-6 minutes, they have a corner. The ball comes as it comes in from the corner. O'Shea gets his head to it, and the ball sort of like loops up, drops down to Liam Delap. He's got his back to goal, and you think there's really no danger. He turns, he hits this right foot strike, heading towards Alphonse Areola's near post, and you think that a goalkeeper of his reputation, his calibre, should really deal with that shot as a routine save. He doesn't. Chocolate wrists. It ends up flying past him into the back of the net for an Ipswich equaliser. And you've got to look at it, and you've got to really sort of like point the finger at the goalkeeper there. And this is what makes me wonder whether what Tony Cottee said about us having two number 2 goalkeepers, I do wonder whether maybe he might be onto something. But that's for another day. Ipswich equaliser, and you're sitting there thinking, this could go horribly wrong, and this could turn really nasty if this goes in a certain direction. And Ipswich had opportunities beyond that point. They actually had an opportunity where they had a header that went just past the post. I'm trying to remember who it was. Greaves, if I remember correctly. Jacob Greaves had the header, and it just went past the upright. That nestles inside the post, 2-1, and possibly we've got a different game on our hands. But that's not what happened. So it still stays 1-1. We go up the other end. We obviously have another opportunity as well. Michail Antonio gets across, and Kudus gets his head to it and doesn't quite manage to get enough accuracy on it. It hits the post and goes out for a goal kick. But we are starting to exert our dominance at that point. We are starting to just get back into the game. And I felt that it was a matter of time before we would start to see that pay dividends on the score sheet. I didn't have to wait long, really. The ball comes in, and it was Michail Antonio that got his head to the ball, crashes it onto the bar. The ball comes out to Mohammed Kudus. He had a very easy opportunity there. All he needed to do was get a good contact, good direction on it, steer it past Muric, and it's 3-1. And that was exactly what he did. Wheeled away behind the goal, doing his usual sitting down celebration. 2-1. Excuse me, losing count there. That was 2-1 that made it. We then get through half time. There was no substitutions made, and then fairly early on, the ball's lofted back to Muric, who took a bit of a hospital touch. Michail Antonio, put him under pressure, and Muric offloads the ball to Jarrod Bowen, who's on the right-hand side. He's faced up by the former legend of West Ham, that is Calvin Phillips. And as he sort of like, he shapes up with Phillips in front of him, he dips the shoulder, he sends Phillips one way, he goes the other. He lets go with a fizzing left foot curler, which Antonio tried to get a touch on it to claim a goal. He didn't manage to do it, and he didn't need to do it. Ended up in the back of the net, and that's what made the game 3-1 and probably effectively ended the game as a contest, I felt. we had numerous opportunities, but there was also an opportunity that Ipswich had, which Areola redeemed himself a little bit. It was a good save that he made in the second half. But then obviously we got the goal that really did seal it as a contest, made it 4-1. It was Jarrod Bowen again on the right, who I thought had a sensational game, and I'll talk more about him in a minute. He sent us the ball, and backstick, there was Lucas Paqueta, who just had a very simple opportunity to just tap it away and make it 4-1 and make the game completely, totally safe for the boys in claret and blue. For me, and he was voted man of the match in the stadium, it was Jarrod Bowen. And looking back on the fixture, I think that probably that's a fair outcome. He obviously scored a goal and had 2 assists as well into the bargain. Obviously, the Antonio opener and the Paqueta goal he had assists for. So I would probably say on balance, he deserves, for the impact he had, he probably deserves it. Now, I have to say that probably the fact that he's been excluded from the England squad, and in my humble opinion, I think that that's probably completely correct, because I don't think he's, up to this point, he's really looked up to the Jarrod Bowen that we'd seen up to that point. And I do think that actually it could be a blessing in disguise, because I do wonder whether now that he's got a little bit of time with the new head coach, he'll have a bit more time to really sort of get across to each other, really, sort of like what makes each other tick, and the ideas that they've got and how they can implement them. Another thing that I was quite interested to see, and I waited to watch their interaction, and towards the end of the match I saw it. The substitution was made. Mohammed Kudus was brought off, and I was waiting to see if there was any interaction between the head coach and the Ghanaian superstar. They did sort of like cross paths. They shook hands, pat on the back, whatever, and it hopefully would seem that the shenanigans that went on in the dressing room at half time against Brentford, hopefully a thing of the past. The thing that concerned me was obviously Lopetegui's pre-match comments about sort of team players and all that. That did make me wonder, a little bit concerned about that, as to whether there was any after effects, any sort of like lingering resentment from either party. But on the basis of what I saw there, it looks like they've probably drawn a line under it. I would hope so anyway. But this was a really good result for West Ham. 3 points of a 3-goal margin. A little bit of a sort of like a blot on the copybook with obviously the goal that Ipswich scored, which was a bit of a disappointment in the way that it looks optically. But at the end of the day, we've managed to get a win. And obviously we go into the international break in fine fettle. We've got a tough game at the end after the international break is concluded. We've got to go to Tottenham Hotspur Stadium to face an informed Tottenham Hotspur. So going into it on the back of a 4-1 home win is very, very pleasing, and hopefully the boys can capitalise and get a decent result over there in North London. But anyway, I'm going to disappear and get my train now. Please don't forget to drop a like on this stream for the boys at Hammers Chat. Gio and Gonzo doing some great things. As I say, if you feel like it, pop across to the West Ham Massive and give us a sub as well whilst you're at it. Thanks for your time. Come on, you Irons.